Vladimir Putin, the rise of Russia's most powerful leader. In 1999, a relatively unknown bureaucrat was catapulted to the helm of Russia's power structure. 2 decades later, he would emerge as one of the most powerful and controversial leaders on the global stage. His name is Vladimir Putin. How did a KGB officer, once stationed in East Germany, rise to become the face of Russia's modern resurgence? What lies behind the stoic, enigmatic expression of a man who has managed to hold a firm grip on power in one of the world's most complex nations? Today, we unravel the journey of Vladimir Putin, the man who shaped modern Russia. The early years. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin was born on October 7, 1952, in Leningrad, the city we now know as St. Petersburg. Growing up in a communal apartment with his parents, young Putin experienced life in a modest Soviet household. His father, a factory foreman, and his mother, a homemaker, worked tirelessly to provide for their family. These early years were marked by hardship and struggle, leaving a lasting impression on the young boy. But amidst these humble beginnings, young Vladimir had a fascination. He was captivated by stories of spies and secret agents. At the age of 16, he approached the KGB to apply for a job, only to be told that he needed either a law degree or military experience. It was at that moment that Putin set his sights on becoming a lawyer, a decision that would eventually open the doors to his future career. Putin's resolve and discipline were evident as he excelled in his studies at Leningrad State University, where he graduated with a law degree in 1975. This achievement enabled him to enter the KGB, the Soviet Union's intelligence and security agency, setting him on the path to become a career intelligence officer. Putin's first major assignment took him to Dresden, East Germany, where he worked under the guise of a translator. The Cold War was at its peak, and the young operative was given a first-hand experience of espionage and political intrigue. While stationed in East Germany, Putin observed the collapse of the Berlin Wall in 1989. This event marked a turning point in his life as he witnessed the unraveling of the Soviet Empire firsthand. He later described that moment as one of the most devastating experiences, realizing the impending collapse of the Soviet Union, which was in deep turmoil back home. In 1991, as the Soviet Union disintegrated, Putin returned to a drastically changed Russia. He resigned from the KGB with the rank of lieutenant colonel and began his transition into the world of politics. But how did a mid-level intelligence officer end up becoming the leader of Russia? The answer lies in a series of political connections and calculated moves that would eventually catapult him to the highest office in the country. Putin's political ascendancy. Back in St. Petersburg, Putin began working as an advisor to Anatoly Sobchak, the city's mayor. Sobchak was one of Russia's leading reformers, and his influence provided Putin with valuable political exposure and connections. His diligent work earned him a promotion to deputy mayor, placing him in a powerful administrative role where he was responsible for foreign relations and investments. His skills as a behind-the-scenes operator caught the attention of Boris Yeltsin, Russia's first post-Soviet president. Putin's loyalty and ability to handle sensitive tasks, especially cracking down on the oligarchs, earned him a rapid succession of promotions in Yeltsin's administration. In 1998, he was appointed as the head of the FSB, the successor agency to the KGB. It was during this period that Putin's reputation for toughness became known. By August 1999, Yeltsin made a surprising decision, appointing Putin as the prime minister. At that time, Russia was struggling with economic instability, widespread corruption, and a brutal war in Chechnya. The young and little-known prime minister was tasked with restoring order. But just 4 months later, another unexpected event changed everything. Yeltsin announced his resignation on New Year's Eve, 1999, and Vladimir Putin was named acting president. Putin's immediate promise to restore stability and protect Russia's interests resonated with a population tired of chaos. By March 2000, he won the presidential election and officially became Russia's president. Putin's inauguration ceremony, March 2000. His rise to power was swift, but it wasn't without controversy. Some saw him as a man of action who could bring back Russia's former glory, while others feared his KGB past and wondered about his true ambitions. The Putin era, consolidation of power. Once in office, Putin wasted no time consolidating power. He implemented a series of reforms aimed at centralizing authority. His administration took on Russia's oligarchs, the ultra-wealthy businessmen who had accumulated massive fortunes during the chaotic privatization of the 1990s. While some oligarchs were brought closer to the Kremlin, others who resisted were imprisoned or exiled, sending a clear message: the power structure would change under Putin's leadership. His policies aimed to restore Russia's influence on the world stage, driven by a belief that Russia had been humiliated during the post-Soviet transition. Putin initiated military reforms, cracked down on separatism in Chechnya, and increased state control over the media. Some hailed these moves as necessary for rebuilding a broken nation, while others saw them as steps toward authoritarianism. Putin's early years in power were also marked by tragedies, including the sinking of the Kursk submarine in 2000 and the 2002 Moscow theater hostage crisis. His handling of these events drew criticism, but his image as a strong leader remained largely intact. Over time, Putin's personality cult began to take shape, with state media frequently showing images of him riding horses, playing ice hockey, and engaging in judo, projecting an image of strength and vitality. As the years went by, he continued to tighten his grip on power, eventually leading to constitutional changes that allowed him to stay in office longer than initially permitted. Russia's role in a changing world. Under Putin's leadership, Russia became more assertive on the international stage. In 2008, Russia invaded Georgia, sending a clear message that it would not tolerate NATO's encroachment in its traditional sphere of influence. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 further solidified his stance on protecting what he saw as Russia's rightful territories. But these actions came at a cost. The West imposed economic sanctions, leading to strained relationships with the United States and Europe. However, Putin maintained his popularity at home by positioning himself as a defender of Russian sovereignty against Western aggression. The phrase, "Russia is back," became a slogan that resonated with many Russians who felt their country had lost its global standing after the fall of the Soviet Union. His policies attracted allies as well as critics. While some countries saw him as a stabilizing force, others labeled him a dangerous authoritarian. Internationally, his relationships with leaders like China's Xi Jinping and Turkey's Erdogan flourished, while tensions with NATO members escalated. In Syria, Russia's military intervention helped prop up Bashar al-Assad's regime, further expanding Putin's influence in the Middle East. It was clear that Russia was willing to reassert itself as a global power under Putin's leadership. As Russia became more involved in international affairs, allegations of election meddling, cyber attacks, and espionage further strained relations with the West. But within Russia, Putin's narrative remained the same. Russia would not be dictated to by foreign powers, and its path would be determined by its own interests. Putin's legacy, what lies ahead today? As Vladimir Putin continues to shape Russia's future, questions remain about his legacy. His supporters view him as a protector of Russia's greatness, the leader who brought stability to a chaotic country. His critics argue that he has eroded democratic freedoms and stifled political opposition, raising concerns about the long-term consequences for Russian society. With the latest constitutional changes potentially allowing him to remain in power until 2036, the world watches closely. Will his leadership continue to drive Russia toward a path of resurgence, or will it lead to further isolation and conflict? Vladimir Putin's story is far from over, and as the world's attention remains fixed on Russia, only time will tell how history will remember the man who has shaped the destiny of a nation. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Vladimir Putin's life and leadership. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth documentaries on the world's most influential figures.